You're on.
Okay, ready? Ready, set, go. Well, good evening, everybody. We have got a great testimony tonight, several testimonies from the one family. And this is how Shackley works. And when you start to use the products, then you start finding, oh, so-and-so's got this and so-and-so's got that. This is all in the family, of course. And so-and-so's got something else. And, so we start working on the family. But we have, excuse me, Amy Prater. She is, are you a senior coordinator? Amy, are you a senior coordinator? Bingo, on your way to executive. That's right, I knew that. Okay, that's great, congratulations. So she's gonna honor us tonight, hi Marilyn, with her stories, and we're just excited to hear them because I always loved Amy's stories and I loved how she tells them. So they're so good. Well, there's Lisa. Okay, great. So Amy, you can take it away. I think you know all these girls, don't you? Well, maybe you don't know Sandy. Sandy's from Texas.
I remember Sandy from Texas. Mm-hmm. I think Maggie is the only person I don't know.
She's in somewhere in Roland's group. I don't know where she fits. Downline somewhere.
And you said Michigan, the 269 is Michigan. Very good. Well, welcome. So Nina and Marion, you want me just to roll with it?
You go rolling, Amy girl.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Because Marion cuts out for me, so I don't know.
And you do every now and then, but that's why I muted everybody else so that it's the least bandwidth on there, okay?
Okay, well, I'll speak slowly then. How about that? No. Okay, well, thank you, Nina and Marion, for inviting me on this evening. And Marion had just asked if I would share our story of, really how we got started with Shackley and just what our story is, because each one of us has a story to share with our members and with people that we meet and potential leaders down the road. And so our story started about 16 years ago. And it was at a time when our firstborn, he was 3 years old, and he was having chronic ear infections. And he was on an antibiotic cycle. Literally every 6 to 8 weeks, he was on a different antibiotic. And one time with one of the antibiotics he was on, he had such a bad reaction. He was a rash from head to toe. And, being that first-time mom, I thought it was chicken pox, actually, the way it looked. We were nervous. And so as things would happen, I was at a funeral of a dear friend's, her father had passed. And a group of us, close friends, we had stayed there all day. And my very dear friend, Lisa Smith, who is also my upline, she was there. And we got to chatting and we got to talking. And this is how things happen. You just have conversations with people. And Lisa and I had a connection. We used to ride the same school bus. She was within my brother's grade, but I knew her, because we always know the older kids. And because they're cool. They're the cool ones. And so Lisa and I were talking, and I just told her the concerns that my husband and I had about our son and his ear infections and constantly being on an antibiotic. And we knew that wasn't the way we wanted to go. And tubes were coming up. We knew that they wanted to put tubes, and we were very hesitant about that. So very simply, she just invited me over for a cup of tea. And at that time, I was working close to about 70 hours a week. And so between my husband's schedule and my schedule, we worked it out that one of us was always home with our son, which wasn't easy. It was a very tricky balancing act. Because we wanted us to raise our children. We just didn't want to put them in daycare if that was at all possible. And so Again, that was a very tricky schedule. So Lisa said, hey, can you stop by for about an hour? And I said, well, I really only have about 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, really. And so we had a nice cup of tea, and she asked a bunch of questions, and she just listened and really listened to what our concerns were and what we wanted to do as a family. And so fast forward, we started on a very simple program, a very simple routine, regimen, if you will. I always call it a box in a can. And with that, that means that's our protein and our multivitamin, and then a few other extras in there. I mean, that's just how simple it was when we got started. So with that, moving forward with box in the can, my husband at the time was on what we call the little purple pill. He had acid reflux. He had a bunch of digestive issues. They actually thought it was his heart. He was 30 years old, and they thought it was his heart, and he was in for all these different tests. And like I said, come to find out it was acid reflux. So he ended up going on medication for that. And I remember at the time, it was kind of funny when I was reflecting about our story, I was thinking about it today, that we had this conversation where we asked ourselves, do you want to stay on that medication for the rest of your life? Because what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you're 50? Well, Jeff's getting ready to turn 49 in just a couple weeks. And very glad to say that he doesn't have to worry about that, because he's been off that medication for the past 16 years. So with that, Josh has not seen an ear infection since. We broke that antibiotic cycle. We were very blessed with that. Jeff got off of his medication for his digestive issues, his acid reflux. And then there was another side benefit that we weren't expecting. And that was me, because every month I had hormonal headaches. And not just a headache, I had the full-blown migraine. And I never, ever thought anything different, like that there was anything that would make me feel better, because I thought as a woman, every month with our hormones and our cycle, that was normal. And that's just what I accepted. But after 2 months of just a simple regimen, a box in a can, again, I'll keep it simple, it was box in a can, I noticed on that second month, I didn't have a migraine. And then the other added benefit was that Jeff noticed, he said, you're not as edgy and cranky and all those other wonderful things that happen. And I thought about it and I was like, he's right. He's right. So that was the other, I was just a side benefit. I was out for my son to figure out a way that we could break the antibiotic cycle and in the process help Jeff, if that was a possibility. And lo and behold, it was. And then I was the side benefit. Now, I will say, with our 3-year-old, it wasn't easy in the beginning to get him to swallow any of the products, chew any of the products, so forth. So I kind of really challenged myself, and I started lacing his food. I know that sounds a little deceivious and not necessarily the best parenting style, but that's what I did. And I actually coach a lot of moms to do the same thing, and that is to lace their children's food. I would crush alfalfa. I would crush anything. I mean, I put that alfalfa in shakes, in puddings, in spaghetti sauces, applesauce, whatever you could think of. And then I got to a point where I would crush the alfalfa and I put it in this little shot glass. And I actually used a shot glass. Again, don't judge me on my parenting skills. But I would take a little bit of water, this little glass. I would crush the alfalfa, and I add a little stevia, just a little sweetness there. And he would just drink it down really fast. So anytime that there was a tickle or his nose, you could hear that congestion. I was so afraid those ears were going to, that fluid was going to back up. So, we loaded that vitamin C, we loaded that alfalfa as much as we could. And, like I said, I laced everything he ate. Garlic, the alfalfa, the pearl. In the beginning, we would take that little probiotic or a little tiny pearl back then, and I would soak it in some warm water to make it soft. And we would mix that with his applesauce. And so he would just swallow that straight down with his applesauce, never questioning anything. So moving forward, we continued to use the products. We were very much supporters of what Shaklee was doing for our health. And about 5.5 years later, we had a big change in the family. We moved from Northwest Indiana down to Central Indiana. My husband had a changing of professions, actually, occupations. And so he was now in the medical field. He was in the OR. And that was one of the things that he was nervous about getting off a little purple pill, was, his acid reflux. But it had proven day after day after day that he was doing great, and he never went back to that little purple pill. But in that process of us moving, we had our second child, our daughter. And like I said, we had already been using Shaklee now for about 5.5 years. And our home was Shakleeized. Some of you may ask, what's Shakleeizing your home? That's simply, besides using the nutritional products for ourselves, we had our laundry, our dishes, all of the Shaklee products that are provided, we use them within our home. Our skincare, shampoo, you name it, deodorant, we used everything Shaklee. So it was a completely Shakleeized home, and so our daughter was born in a Shakleeized home. But just so happens, when she was born, she aspirated, and so she went into the NICU. Now, mind you, she's 8 pounds, 12 ounces. She was the largest baby that they saw in the NICU, and they wanted to give her all this medicine. We were in the NICU for 6 days. She was in there for 6 days. And in that time, I continued taking all my Shaklee products, and I continued taking them in very high doses because I was nursing her. They stuck me off in this wing of the motel, or the motel. I call it the Bates Motel, sorry, the hospital. And it wasn't being used, but they let me stay there. And so they expected Addison to be on an antacid because of her aspiration. They were going to use an antacid type medicine, proton pump inhibitor, exactly what Jeff was on. And that's why I was like, this is not going to happen. And I was actually, we came home after 6 days. We were able to wean her off that medicine. She wasn't having any issues at all at night. And then, of course, we had to go back for the week checkup, the 2-week checkup. And I remember the pediatrician saying, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's working. She's fantastic. So she is our Shaklee baby, antibiotic free from any illness. She just turned 14 at the beginning of February. And so, I mean, she's our little testament to our Shaklee products. Another testament to the Shaklee products is the fact that I turned 50 in October. And like I said, Jeff turns 49 here in just a couple weeks. And neither one of us are on any prescriptions. And as I just keep getting older, as much as I want to not, as we just keep getting older, and I listen to my friends and their health stories and their health journeys, there's a lot of medications out there. And so I'm very blessed. We feel very blessed to have our health and have our health as strong as it is at this point in our lives. And we're still just going to town. So I do want to say in that process, when we moved down to Central Indiana, we had been using the products. I started sharing the products a little bit more with people. They would just ask questions about, Josh and just Jeff's and my health. And so I would talk about these Shaklee products. And so we kind of had a little bit of, just talking, sharing the products. But I remember Lisa coming down one day. It was, I don't know, a couple months maybe after Addie was born, maybe not even that long. Anyway, so she came down to come for a visit. And in that time, she said, "Can I show you your group?" And I was like, "My group? What are you talking about, my group?" And she just said, "Well, while you've been sharing products, this is what's happening." And she knew that I wanted to leave the corporate world that I had been in, that I had been working 70 hours a week. My phone would ring 7 days a week at any time of day or night. She knew that I had wanted to end that, with Addison being born. And so she showed me my group. And we took a hard look at that. That was in July. And in November of 2005, this was in 2005, in November, we broke out as directors, meaning that we wanted to grow business, that I wanted to earn a paycheck from Shackley. And that was beautiful because with the retirement, we'll call it the retirement, of all my years with McDonald's. I was with McDonald's. I was a supervisor with them 24 years. And with that, I just felt such a release of just so many things. And now we knew that Jeff and I, we were able to really focus on what was important to us, which were our children. One of us was always there with Josh, but it was such a struggle. And I was now able to volunteer. And that's just what I did. I volunteered like you wouldn't believe, between being a room mom, being at the school every week. That was a normal thing for me. Coaching softball, basketball, boys baseball, Little League, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. Took on some big projects at the schools as well, but I wouldn't change it because at the same time that I was doing all of these things with our kids that I absolutely loved, and I mean, they was just number one priority, I was still building a business. I was building a business around our children. I would schedule appointments that fit our schedule. And so in 2013, well, actually in 2012, we had 2 directors break out. And it was just because we kept sharing the products. And Marion, I know you and I were chatting about this earlier, but we took a cruise, the Dream Cruise in 2013. Now I've done some extensive traveling over the years, but never have I done it with Shackley. And I've always heard people talk about traveling with Shackley, and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever that means. Well, I can attest to the fact what that means. Not having to wait for taxis to get from point A to point B or Ubers, having your bags delivered. You didn't even have to worry about your luggage. All those things that you worry about, every detail when you go to take a trip. And you all know any type of trip, even if it's a weekend trip, there are a lot of details from point A to point B and back to point A. We didn't have to worry about those details. They were all handled. That was a trip of a lifetime. That was the first trip that we had. And then I had another trip out to Pleasanton a few years later after that. And that was an incredible trip just because of the fact that, again, I didn't have to worry about all those plans and all those details. So just something as simple as, going to a funeral, chatting with Lisa over a cup of tea, getting our family started on a health regimen that is by far second to none. Again, where we stand with our health and our children's health, the trips that we have taken, the flexibility in our schedules, in my schedule, to be there with the kids and to work this business and to share it with so many other moms and other families and to create that opportunity for them. It's been such a blessing. And like I said, we're just going on close to 17 years now of just an incredible ride. And it's just starting again. As Roland always says, he goes, you're just, that wave is just starting to peak there. And we're riding that wave in. So, Marion, did I cover everything you wanted me to cover? Or Nina?
Great job, Amy. Great job. What did Jeff take when he got off of the little purple pill?
Well, again, we started with the box and a can. So it was protein and vitalizer. With that, with the stomach issues, the digestive issues, that's where that little probiotic, we always call it that little tiny pearl. that was instrumental and key in his recovery with his stomach, just the issues that he was having. Chewable CalMags. So many people talk about chewable CalMags and just the different benefits that they get from them. Well, Jeff has been used to a lot of antacids over the years, and chewable CalMags have so many other health benefits. They're not an antacid. However, they can work like one would. And the one thing Jeff has always said is that I don't know what it is, but they work fast. And so I have dealt with a lot of people with a lot of stomach issues, and to get relief quickly, often, a chewable CalMag is one of the first places we go. But of course, without that protein, the alfalfa, we talked about the alfalfa with Josh and his earaches, but alfalfa has so many other benefits, but the digestive benefits that came from the alfalfa for Jeff were incredible, and still to this day. We all still use the alfalfa. Trust me, whenever there's a sniffle or something happening in the house, we're always running for the alfalfa, and the kids, we still crush it. I don't know what I've created. Nobody can swallow a pill in our family, but they can. But we still crush it, and we still put it in a shot glass, sweeten it up with some stevia, and we down it. And that works great along with our vitamin C. Garlic was real important too. For any infection that he had, we would heavy dose the garlic as well. Stomach soothing complex, there's a few different things there, but it wasn't what he was taking all the time. The key was the regular usage of the protein and the box in a can. Just starting with those basics there. Those were the real true keys for his digestion, and for then Josh's ear infections. So. And for me, remember I was giving the side benefit of the migraines. I did a little human testing on myself. And so I started to back out certain supplements from the Vitalizer in particularly. And then the protein. And I found that the protein and the B vitamins in particularly those two in particularly would trigger, if I wasn't taking them, my migraine would start. I would do that. I've done that on a few occasions, and you don't realize how good you feel until you feel bad again. So I had forgotten how bad my migraines truly were until I started to test myself and started backing things out of my diet there, in my regimen, in my routine. And that's when I realized I will not go without my protein. I will not go without my B vitamins. And now, again, 17 years later, I'm making sure GLA is in there as well, because I'm just in a different phase of my life. So,
Wow. You know what, Amy, the thing that I loved you saying, you said, I don't know if you want to call me a bad mom. I thought you were an awesome mom by you knew what you needed to do to get their health back again. Yeah. And I said that you hear that often, I can't get my kids to do this. You figured out a way to get them to do it, because you know that when you build cellular level up, that you will always be able to get better health. And I love that, because I think about back in the day what I had to do to my kid, my strongest willed child, to get the liquid out of him. I mean, it wasn't a matter of whether he wanted to take it or not. He was going to take it. So I love that you shared that, and that makes you an awesome mom.
Well, thank you, Nina. The health of the kids, especially being a first-time mom, priority. Their health is your number one priority. And so it's saying my connection came. Oh, there we go. Their health is number one priority. And I was going to do whatever it took. And that's not to say that we didn't have tears around the table in the morning for breakfast. And Josh would cry, and then Addie would cry, why do we have to take this? And I remember very vividly one morning, just as calm as can be, I told them, well, while you're here under my roof, I said, your health is my responsibility. And, we talked about what responsibility meant. I had to put it in kid terms. And so I just told him, I said, your health is my responsibility. And so for now, you will take these items. And when you're older, you can choose not to. Well, now they're both older. Josh is 19, Addie's 14, and I will still see them run to the cabinets if they feel a tickle or a sniffle, anything, a funny sneeze. They know the signs now too, and they go running to the cabinet and they get it out. And like I said, we still crush the alfalfa, and they don't know it, but I still lace the spaghetti sauce with alfalfa, with garlic. They're shakes. I make up all different flavors of shakes. Marion, I'm going to come over and make you a good shake, and I can hide almost anything in those shakes, the protein shakes or smoothies. I call them shakes, but there are smoothies.
And that is so true, because my daughter just said that. I got somebody that was asking, how do you get all this stuff into the kids? And my daughter said to me, Mom, I used to fight them to get it down them, but she said, I just grind it all up in their shake and they swallow it right away and they don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So
I find in applesauce, just as a trick for anybody, cinnamon hides a lot of flavors. So if you need to hide something, and you can use applesauce as your vessel, cinnamon will help hide it. So just a little. I work with a lot of moms.
She said that the B complex is hard to hide in applesauce, but if you put the cinnamon in, you say that covers it.
It helps cover it. B vitamin is probably the hardest one.
But she throws that in her shake and they don't notice it.
Then keep doing it. That's the best.
Exactly. I know I had somebody before that said that in the liquid lead, they would put it in orange juice and the kids didn't know the difference. I'm like, really? So any questions for Amy? Because I want to talk a little bit about the purple pill when any questions are answered. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Amy? Mrs. Lacer, as Lisa says. The lacing lady will have to remember that for you.
Great job, Amy.
Yes, thank you.
Great job.
So much. I just wanted to, I'm going to do a share screen here, and I want to just share a little bit about, Amy talked about the purple pill, and it is one of the biggest, it's one of the biggest drugs that are used today, okay? So I'm just going to run down this list, and I'm going to run into the pills. Digestive problems are so big with so many different health issues. So what are some of the things that cause digestive problems? Drinking too much with meals. I don't know. I did not know that before. I thought you were always supposed to drink with meals, but when you drink, you get rid of your enzymes because your chewing is what creates those enzymes, which helps you digest your food. Eating under stress, I think we all know that. Too much or not enough stomach acid. Unhealthy digestive organs due to nutritional inadequacies. A lack of bile or bile flow. That can happen from constipation. I'm not going to do a whole presentation. I just want to talk about why it's so important to do nutrition to get your digestive system working. A lack of pancreatic enzymes, not enough flora, having a leaky gut, too much acid in the intestines, a slow transit time, armor on the bowel walls, and then of course the inflammatory bowel disease. So those are different things that cause digestive problems. So the first thing, until they're educated, the first thing that people do, of course, is they jump to, a lot of that causes malabsorption, okay? And then we have major digestive issues, and then a lot of health issues come as a result of that. But this is the first thing that everybody does because this is what's common, is going to these pills. And this purple pill down here in the corner is one of the biggest ones that's out there. This one you need, I don't know if you need a prescription for this one anymore, but I know you used to, and then after it goes past its patent, then they put them on the market. But I want you guys to see this. What are the side effects? Because every single one of those drugs have side effects. And I don't think people know this. May cause cancer tumors if taken for over 8 weeks. Why in the world would somebody take that? Headaches, muscle pain, slowed heart rate, bone marrow depression. Boy, talk about messing up your immune system. Liver damage, decreased libido, decreased sexual ability, headaches, joint and muscle pain, digestive disorders, loss of hair, ringing in the ears, irregular heartbeat, headaches, prolonged use of kidney stones, impaired kidney function, dizziness, diarrhea, constipation, gas, which you're trying to take care of, stomach pain, and dry mouth. So according to, this is a government thing, the average 65, we all know that, is on more than 19 plus meds a year. So, but we have to get down to the root problem. And that's what Amy was talking about tonight. And this is something that I want everybody who watches this or hears this takes to heart. Who is responsible for your health? You or your doctor? I just had a very interesting experience with this exact question, and I'm not going to go into it, but I tell you what, I found beyond every reasonable doubt that I'm the one who's responsible for my health. Your doctor is an aide to tell you what's going wrong, if he's willing to tell you. Let me put it that way. So that's why what Amy shared tonight is so important. And where do you start? She said you start with what? A box and a can. Or you start with the protein is always so important. We always know that. And then nutrients, which is your multi, or you can do vitalizer. And then the third one, I love our new DI. I don't know how many of you have used that product, but the digestive one is absolutely huge. So I just wanted to share those side effects of those drugs, because I don't, who would think that by taking a pill for your digestive system that everybody buys, a lot of that's over the counter. Who would think that that would affect your body that way? Okay. I just thought that was important to share that part. So
Amen. Yes.
Thank you for joining us tonight, but thank you so much, Amy, for sharing your story. Next week we have Sharon. Gail is going to share her story. Thank you, Sharon. And she's got a pretty amazing health story from, I'll never forget your health story from years ago. I'll never forget that. So join us again next week, and thank you so much. And thanks, Amy.